Alright, how's everybody doing today? So, today's the 5th, so tomorrow's the 6th, and today's a Wednesday. So, I don't know. Again, I've always been partial to the whole Wednesday thing, but who knows, right? And I always like to show you stuff out of, the movies and the music, because it's in everything, okay? This is the greatest story being told, so to speak. So this comes from, who is this from? Creed. It's another Creed song called Weathered. And there's a particular verse in there. It says, "The earth is a voice speaking to you." Right there. Okay, so that's where grounding and being still and know that I am and all that other wonderful stuff that they like to teach you, it will speak to you. So, because the earth is a remnant, so, it is what it is. Now, I do want to say something here. So when you get your notification at the top of the page, you can pull it down and you always get this little intro here. And that's all I saw, okay? Now, this one actually came through, but there's a person. Oh, where are they? I saved it here. Right here. This, at Peanut Gallery. Okay, so the last comment you left, when I pulled it down, it showed that little bit, and when I tapped on it, your message was gone. I never got your message. So just remember, if I'm not answering here, I'm not getting the messages. I will always answer some way or another, okay? And the whole reason for saying this is that the little bit that I caught, it was asking something about, I believe, my thought on the rapture, just like this one here. Okay, this had to do with where do I think we're going from here. Okay, so basically everybody comes from a place in what we would designate as a time, so to speak, although time only exists here. So, when the flip happens, we're just going to go right back. It's kind of like if you, I always recommend watching the Star Trek New Generation show, Yesterday's Enterprise. I've talked about that, where once the Enterprise C goes into the rift and restores the past, so to speak, then they go right back to where they were, and they have no recollection of anything that happened prior to that. Just like when the Enterprise C came out of the rift and altered the past, so to speak, everything changed, and all they knew, even though they had just only been there for a matter of moments, was all they knew was they'd been at war with the Klingons for the last 20 years. And they had a perfect recollection of everything that went down. So we won't remember this, but we'll go back to where we came from, so to speak, where we belong, and our memory will be restored, the planets will be restored, everything will be restored, just like it says in the Bible. Now, I do have to make one minor correction. So in the last video I said that, we were in like 1776, when actually, okay, so and that's based on the Trojan horse, right? When we got the Statue of Liberty, and I don't know why that date jumped out in my mind. So in what we would say was our history, the event with the Trojan horse happened at 1184 BCE. When we got the Statue of Liberty was 1885. Okay, so that date corresponds with that date. Okay? And I don't know if that helps anybody. Now, I did mention in another video that someone had posted a pretty interesting thing I thought that dealt with Donald Trump, because this had to do with the groping thing that I talked about, the interview that was had. And this person here left a nice little thing right here. I'll leave that there for a second if you guys want to slow it down or whatever to go ahead and read through all that. I thought that was a very interesting take on loops. So I mean, I'm not the only one that's looking, and people are putting some of this stuff together. I just, like I said, I only offer a different perspective on what I see. So these would be your 3 destructions of Troy, which probably, again, is the United States. Everything, all those ancient stories happen here, even though, just like the Euphrates River. Here we call it the Colorado River system. So this would be why we had probably 3 eclipses go over the United States. Okay, 1 for each destruction. Okay. And I think that's really all I had for as far as interesting stuff. Someone made a comment on, I think, my last video that they were watching the Schumann and it was like in a blackout mode. So when I got my update this morning, yeah, the Schumann was blacked out for an entire 24-hour period. So if the earth is a voice speaking to you, that could be the 24 hours of silence, so to speak. I'm not sure. Because like I said, this is all a giant puzzle that's, we don't get the picture to, right? And probably some pieces are even missing. So, I have a broad outline of what's going on here, that, traveling time backwards. I know there's some people that I talk to in the real world that, doubt whatever, but, when you see it playing out on the world stage, just like Spain and Morocco, so that gets back to the old conquistadors, right? The conquerors. So that particular timeline has been restored, so to speak, I'm guessing. That's why the Schumann blacked out. We did a giant, not even a time hop. I don't know. It just ended. So tomorrow being the 6th, that was one of our jump points. So that may be our return point. Like I said, we could do the 6th, we could do the 8th. There was another jump point on the 9th. We could return on the 9th. And that's why I've really been questioning all along. And we still may have to go to that solar eclipse. I'm not sure. Mainly, but when it goes back to things being unannounced, right? It's not an announced thing. So, to me, the solar eclipse is all over the place. It's very announced. So, there's some things that I have a hard, and for me it's always hard because I do live my life one day at a time. I always plan for tomorrow. I always get up the next day. I go to work. I do the things that I do. I buy enough groceries to get me through the week, just like everybody else. But I don't ever count on tomorrow ever coming. And if it shows up, then I go, hey, let's look at the news. And so even like when I said this was going to be a big weekend, this past weekend, and it kind of was, because that's when the whole boat thing happened. So, and even going back to like the blue moon on the 29th, that's when they said that the pandemic ended. So the stuff that I see coming up is always, hindsight's 20/20. You don't know until you get past it, right? So once we get past those dates and you can look at the headlines and see what took place in the world and try to fit it into the timeline, so to speak, that's when you get a clue as to what you were seeing coming up, so to speak. Not that I ever see anything, because like I said, even in the script it says, and again, even the Nag Hammadi, right? I mentioned that with the Lost Book of Thomas. If you keep seeking, you will find. But if you dig even deeper, you can't just stop with one little thing. That's why in the Bible it talks knowledge will be gained, right? So even if you look at my videos going all the way back, you know, my mindset, the overall story hasn't changed as far as time traveling. That was one of the very first videos I ever did mention time traveling. So that part I know, I'm pretty sure I know, so to speak, because either you know or you don't know kind of thing. But like I said, as far as the loops, the number of times, where we were in them, you know, you just have to wait for stuff to unravel, so to speak. So I think, you know, this weekend was a big weekend with the, you know, the conquistadors going home, because everybody's going home, right? And that's the whole point of the ICE agents in the street, right? Doing what they do. Now there's people arguing with it and yada yada yada. You know, it's just it's for entertainment purposes only, right? That's why it says, you know, walk the middle path. Don't get caught up in the right or the left, so to speak. So that's really all I had today. I just wanted to let you guys know that no, I'm not getting, it's back to that point where I'm not getting all your messages. I hope that, you know, as far as what I think the rapture is, and that's why, and this isn't just our first rapture, because as we do these time loops and we bounce from world to world to world, so to speak, that's its own little rapture play. Like I said, the Bible actually has a trilogy listed in it, so to speak. It's not just one long continuous story. It's got its own loops built in and people appearing out of nowhere, right? So, like I always say, it is what it is. So just hold on. Like I said, it could go down tonight. It could go down in a matter of a couple days. You know, time, I always say time will tell, right? The funny thing is if we don't remember any of this and we go right back to where we were with our restored memories, we're not even going to be able to look back and say, hey, it finally happened. Now, is that right or wrong? Again, I don't know. We won't know till we get there, right? Like I said, I really hope it's kind of like Dorothy going back to Oz, you know, where she wakes up in bed and all those same people are there, but they were just playing different parts. So she hopefully we'll remember it vaguely as like a little dream, so that we'll know we did it. But I'm not really counting on that either. I don't count on anything until I see it with my own eyes, right? But that's enough for today. Just hang in there. I'm pretty sure, you know, we're really close based on the timelines, where it started, how it's ending. I think everything's looking really good. So take care. I love you all, and I really hope to catch all of you on the flip side. All right, bye-bye.